Kalman hat gedungen. Was seid? Oh, ich seh. Kalman hat gedungen a Christin aufzurahmen sein Dire. Was es gewähnt verlässt, sind es geworenen Almen. Kalman hired a Christian woman to clean his apartment, which had become neglected since he became a widower. Gewohnt hat auf der Vorstadt Lipówka. Und keiner von seiner verbetenen Schreinem zu der Gruppe hat die Kalle mit ihrer Mishpacha nicht gekannt. He was living in the suburb called Lipówka, and none of the guests that he had invited to the wedding knew the bride or her family. Merels zwei Schwester sind gekommen unsere Männer. Yeah.
It's not that they didn't know. It's the bride and her family did not know the invitees.
Could be. Keiner von seiner verbetenen Schreinem zu der Gruppe hat die Kalle. Yeah, it's a little interesting. You cannot tell which is the subject. The subject could be die Kalle hat nicht gekannt, but it could be keiner hat nicht gekannt. I read it the first way, but you read it the second, and it is ambiguous. They didn't know each other.
Yeah, okay.
Merels zwei Schwester sind gekommen unsere Männer. Merel's two sisters came without their husbands. Die ältere, Gute, hat nicht gewollt, als ihr Schicker soll haben an Ausred, sich anzutrinken. The older one, named Gute, didn't want that her drunkard of a husband should have an excuse to get drunk. Und Golda, die jüngste von die drei Schwestern, and Golda, who was the youngest of these three sisters, hat nicht mitgenommen ihr Mann. She didn't bring along her husband, dem Fäulen Luder, the lazy fellow Luder, weil is Moishke Cyrulnik's a guter Bruder, because he was a good friend of Moishke Cyrulnik, who I think was also courting Merel.
Yeah.
Sind Merel hat auf Moishken aufgehäuben a Presseisen für sein Zustehen zu ihr. Since the time that Merel had lifted an iron against Moishke because of his coming too close to her, is ihr geworden an offener Dammsäune. He became to her an open enemy, a blood enemy. Kalman hat bewiesen Feinkeit und gedungen a Droschke zu bringen von Moshe Skenim der Kalles Mama, Kayla, mit die geschwollene Fies. Kalman showed his good spirits, or his
generosity.
Yeah, generosity or Edelkeit, his refinement. That's it.
Okay.
And he hired a carriage to bring the bride's mother, Kayla, from the old age home, the mother who had the swollen feet. Wenn Gutta und Golda haben der die Mama, when her sisters, Gutta and Golda, saw their mother, haben sie rausgeplatzt in a Gewein. They broke out in a wailing. Wie Kayla wollt gekommen mit sich gesegnen. Eder sie geht weg auf der Emissere Welt. As if their mother Kayla had come to say farewell to them before she goes away to the world of truth, that is to die. Merel hat geschwiegen und ihr Vertracht schweigen hat sie gemacht äußern steifer und jünger. Merel was silent, and her, now how are you going to translate Vertracht schweigen? Her
pensive.
Yeah, it could well be her
Pensive silence.
Pensive, yeah. I've not seen Vertracht as an adjective before, but it's what it is here. Her pensive silence made her appear younger, and now steif. Steif is rigid. So that's a little strange there. Kalman's
Maybe
Schreinem,
stronger, maybe stronger.
maybe
Yes.
stronger and younger, yeah, because she did not break out into a
What
cry.
about
Yeah,
more erect? She was more erect and young.
it could be, yeah. Kalman's Schreinem haben sich nicht gekannt genug abwundern. Kalman's neighbors couldn't stop in their amazement, their wondering. Wie kommt zu ot dem Pippernotter, zu ot dem Stubschmierer, was arbeitet Tag in Jahr, wie kommt zu ihm, als ein Bible? How does this here Pippernotter, pipsqueak, I'll translate it as, this house painter who maybe works one day a year, how does he manage to get such a beautiful little woman? Dem Unterschames is gegangen in Leben, als euch bei ihm soll Gruppe wie Kedushin u Kedushin oizen wie beim Eber Shamas. The assistant Shamas, who was conducting the wedding, he was determined that the ceremony, the chuppah and the kedushin, should appear just as they would if the main shamas were conducting them. Sich arufziehen azoi hoich und wären azoi breit wie Reb Yoshe, der Rebbe Shamas, had Zalmanke nit gekent. But to draw himself tall as and as broad as Yoshe, the main shamas, well, Zalmanke wasn't able to do that. Is fortgewennen kleiniker. He was, after all, a small fellow, a darinker, a thin fellow. And as I good, the ona berdel, and it was as if he had no beard at all. Hat sich chotsch geschockelt, wie Reb Yoshe, und gemacht die Brachas mit Kavona. But he was able just to sway like Reb Yoshe, and he made the blessings with great intention. Und Kalman, der Alman, hat sich mitgeschockelt, mit Kreuz Genitschaft. And Kalman, the widower, he swayed along with him with great Genitschaft could be experience, but here it's I'm just going to let Genitschaft, yeah, skill. Wie wollt Mekadesh gewen, a Yidne scheint das Zentmal. Well, maybe it is experience, as if he were wedding a Jewish woman already for the 10th time, L'chol hapachas, at least. Plotzim hat die jüngste Schwester gegeben der Älster a starken Knipp und ihr Besticker und gewissen auf der Kalle. Suddenly, the youngest sister poked the oldest one with a sharp poke, and in silence she pointed to the bride. A bleche und stolz verjähigte, wie a Basmalke zwischen Bettler, hat Merl von unter der Gruppe sich zugeguckt zum Drobninken Unterschames und zu ihr Chossen, dem Stubmaler und Besäulem Yid. Pale and now stolz verjähigte. Stolz means proudly. Verjähigt means having given up hope. So I don't know how those go together.
Despairing.
Yeah, proudly
despairing.
despairing. Okay. Like a princess among beggars. Meryl, under the chuppah, was looking at the little fellow, the assistant shamus, and looking at her groom, the house painter, and he's also a Basilim Yid, a fellow who keeps going to the cemetery, which is where she first met him. Ihre Augen haben sich zerfinkelt mit sehr amoligen schwarzen Glanz. Her eyes were glittering with their once upon a time dark shine. Und ihre Backen seien geworden rose, and her cheeks were rosy, were pink. Sie hat a freilich aufgelebte a Dregeton mit dem Kopf, halb aufgeöffnet das Maul. Happy and aufgelebt, revived. She turned her head and she half opened her mouth. Und ihre beide Schwestern haben der Sinn, als noch ein Augenblick und sie wird a schießen a Gelächter. As in just the blink of an eye, she is going to break out in laughter. This is Meryl. Schlecht, that wouldn't be so good. Die wilde Zieg ist von ihr herausgesprungen. This wild goat was jumping out of her. Aber Gutte und Golde seien gefallen auf denselben Seichel. But Golde and Gutte came upon the same idea. Und in derselben Rege at the same time. Und beide haben sich einen Wurf getan auf der Schwesters Hals. Both of them grabbed at their sister's throat. Mit a geyomer, with a yomer, a bewailing. Merke, dein Mazel soll scheinen lichtiger wie unserer. Merke, your luck should shine brighter than ours. Sie haben lang gewaldet auf ihr Hals. They held onto her for a long time around the neck. Bis ihr Gelächter ist erstickt geworden until she had choked back her laughter in their arms, while in their arms. Und sie hat mehr nicht gelacht dem ganzen auf der Nacht. And she didn't laugh that entire evening any longer. Sie hat bloß geschmeichelt mit feuchten Augen. She only smiled with damp eyes. Und geglätt der Mama neben den Kopf and patted her mother on her head. Kayla, the mother, is gesessen auf a Stuhl, was sitting on a chair, die geschwollene Hand auf die Knie, with her swollen hands on her knees, und geguckt, als tumulte, and she looked in confusion. Sie hat gefühlt, als etwas werde abgetan. She felt that something was happening here, in groß eilenisch, in a great haste. Gar nicht wie mit der Heter von Rabbonim. Not at all as if it had rabbinic permission. Good. After
Okay.
Yankov, are there
Yankov.
Rachel?
Okay.
May I ask a question?
Sicher.
Okay. So, das ist ein Wort, was peinigt mir. Was ist ein Hals? Ist ein Hals bei meinen Eltern? Ein Hals, es tut mir weh, das Hals.
Yeah, the hals is the neck or the throat.
For my parents, Hals was a throat.
Yeah, it can be the neck or the throat.
And I know that some dictionaries say it's the neck. And when I tell people that it's a throat, they say that I don't know. So
Well, the throat is also
what say you?
specifically, yeah, there's a special word that only means throat, and that's kel. But
Can you
or
say
God,
it again? I didn't hear.
kel, K-E-L, kuf ayin lamed. Also, a gerdik is a throat, or a gorgle is a throat, or a windpipe. But the word hals also refers to Arumnamen dem Hals actually means to hug, and it doesn't necessarily mean to grab around the neck. I don't know why in Yiddish it's Arumnamen dem Hals. But der Hals is literally a neck.
Hals when I have a cold.
Yeah, a Halsveitik is certainly a sore throat.
Mhm.
Yeah, so it's like ambiguous. It's like
Slightly, yeah. It's like the word regal or fuss is not just the foot, it's the whole leg. And sometimes when you want to say a more
Yeah.
specific word, it's hard to find one.
Yeah,
Yeah,
there's
okay, thank you.
the word finger as well can mean a finger or a toe.
Exactly. And you
Yeah,
can say fuss
okay.
figure if you want.
Yeah, thank you. That's what I thought, but I thought maybe there's more to it.
Yeah, you know the difference between fis ribby and fis noga? That's important for the Litvakis among us. Because
Yeah, can you say it
fis can
again?
fis ribby and fis noga.
I don't know.
Well, in standard Yiddish, it's fish and feast. Feast is feet, and fish
Yeah.
is fish, right? But in
Yeah.
parts of Lithuania, they'd both be pronounced about the same. And so you use another word, a Slavic word afterwards. Fisnoga is foot. Fisribi is fish, because ribby is fish and noga is foot or leg.
Never heard it.
Well, that's because you don't come from that part of the world.
Tel Aviv is my homeland.
Ja.
Yeah, the accent there
Yeah.
is different.
Yeah.
Es ist die litwische Sabbatstik gelassen.
Exactly. And I hear it. Yeah,
Sabestika.
I hear that with you, Yankov. You say Beshmedris instead of Besmedrish. So you're obviously from the Litvakis also, as am I.
Yeah. Guilty as charged.
Both South Africans, I
When,
believe, are Litvakis.
when is the sentence?
Ja. Okay, so lassen wir weiterlernen. Noch ein Yishuv Hadas von Kalmanen mit dem Weib ist bei See geblieben. Als wird sich herüberziehen zu ihr auf Polotsker. After a deliberation, it was between Kalman and his wife, it was decided that that he should move over to her place on Polotsker Gas. Eigentlich hat sich der Mann Meyashev gewinnt mit sich allein hoch auf den Kohl und das Weib hat die ganze Zeit geschwiegen, bloß zugeschockelt mit dem Kopf, als sie ist Masken. Actually, her husband consulted with himself aloud, and his wife remained silent the whole time, and simply nodded her head in agreement. Kalman hat ausgehechbend, als wie bald dreht sich ständig herum auf der Maljasker Birge auf Zawalnegas gegen Holzmark und wart auf Abalabos. Okay, let me do the sentence and then carry on reading. Kalman worked out that since he was constantly moving around near the Belyaska exchange.
Malyar could be having to do with painters, the painters exchange, the place where they got together to find jobs.
Okay.
That's
okay.
a guess. Malyar looks like
yeah,
Molyar.
makes sense. Makes sense.
Shuka Avoda. It's called.
Exactly.
It's right.
Yeah. Okay. At the Painters Exchange on Zavalna Street, opposite the wood market, where they would wait for a balabos was sucht das Stubmaler, where they would wait for a house owner who was looking for a house painter, muss doch nicht wohnen dafke in die frierdike Dira of Lipovka. And for that reason, he shouldn't remain living in his previous apartment in the Lipovka area. Aber Merel hat doch auf Palotske Gas an eingezogene Kundschaft und tor sich von ihr Ort nicht rühren. But Merrill, she had on Palotska Gas, she had a narrow clientele, and she shouldn't move from where she was staying. Emmes do Stiebel is Englisch, nor by a good Leben is Engschaft kein Manier nicht. It's true that her room was English, it was narrow.
Somewhat narrow. The lech makes it somewhat.
Yeah, somewhat narrow. But if one is living a good life, narrowness is not an obstacle. Und wenn es wird sein Maselbruche, kann man auf derselbe Gas gefunden a größere Dira. And if everything would go well, they could find on the same street a larger apartment.
I would translate that a mazel bracha as a child might be bored.
They're
If they
too
have a
old.
child, you think so? She's
Yeah.
maybe so. It's only been 17 years since she was originally married, so I don't know. But that's a mazel bracha. That's how I understand it.
Okay.
I figure she's around 40 years of age at least.
Nicht zu alt zu haben, Kind.
Yeah, okay, no, this is a, this is a whole new vikuach.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, okay.
We'll leave it at that.
Yeah.
Kalman hat gedungen a poerisch Furl,
Plural.
a Furl, a rüber zu führen seine Sachen von Lipovka auf Polotska. Kalman hired a Gentile wagon to transport his things from Lipovka to Polotska. Das Furl hat sich geschleppt a halben Tag, bis es ist der Krochen von ein Eckstadt zu dem zweiten. So the wagon dragged on for a half a day until it dragged on from the one part of the town to the second.
Egg is edge. The one
Pardon?
edge of the one edge.
Okay. Und Kalman ist noch gegangen auf ein Trottoir, hat die ganze Zeit rein geklärt, sie der Hetter von Polotsker Dayen ist Tacke genug. And Kalman, as he was following on the sidewalk, the whole time he was contemplating whether the permission of the Polotska Dayan was actually sufficient. Erst wenn der Fuhrmann hat schon getrogen die Sachen auf die Treppe zu Merlen in Stiebel, hat Kalman zu sich also getan. Als der Hetter von Polotsker Dayen ist über genug. It was only after the wagon driver had already carried all the things up the steps to Marilla's little room, that Kalman told himself, convinced himself that the permission of the Polotska Dayan was more than enough. Und wenn alle seine Bebeches, seinen Gewinn innewenig, hat euch zum Weib so getan, a Gleichwertel. And when his all his bits and pieces were inside the room, the house, he said a witticism to his wife. Tomer wird man über 100 mit 20 Jahr uns beiden nicht willen reinlassen in Gan Eden, willen wir sich angappen bei der Polk von Polotska Dayan.
Bei der
Und
Polle.
Ole.
der Polle von Polotska Dayan. Und wird uns mitschleppen. So maybe after 120 years, and they don't want to allow us to enter into the Gan Eden, we will grab onto the coattail of the Polotska Dayan, and he will schlepp us in, he will drag us in. Der Polotska Dayan wird sicher reingehen in Gan Eden und dort sitzen noch mehr Obenon von die anderen Vilna Rabbonim. The Polotska Dayan will certainly enter Gan Eden, and there he'll sit more closer to the front than any of the other Vilna Rabbonim. Merel hat a kugeton auf ihr Chochem Etik.
Chochem Atik.
I think that's okay.
Atikus is,
okay.
yeah. Oh,
Yeah, okay. It's a Hebrew word, so it's Pasach, not an E.
Yeah.
Ihr Chochematik mit große Augen. Meryl looked at her great sage, and this is ironic,
Yeah.
with large eyes. Sie hat sich es nicht gericht. She didn't. This is something that she didn't expect. Kalman hat doch verkocht die ganze Geschichte mit dem Heter und gearbeitet meisim, sie soll werden sein Weib. Kalman had concocted the whole story with the permission, and he worked wonders that she should become his wife. Is noch unzufrieden? Is he still dissatisfied? Es hat sich ihr Tacke gelohnt. Was this really worthwhile for her? Hat sie bitter geschmeichelt in sich und ist zugegangen zum Fenster. She smiled bitterly within herself, and she went to the window. Sind ihr zweite Begegnung mit dem Rov, wenn hat ihr geheißen Chasna haben, hat sie jeden Frühmorgen sich nicht gekannt sitzen bei der Nähmaschine, oder sie hat durch ein Fenster nicht gesehen, wie der kleinige Polotsker daien und is in der langer kapotte viert sein Engel in Cheder. Since her second meeting with the rabbi, when he told her that she could marry, every morning she couldn't sit down at her sewing machine until she had looked through the window and seen how the little Polotska Dayan, with his long kapota, with his long black coat, was taking his little boy to Cheder, leading his little boy to Cheder. Heint hat Merrill dem Rov mit Ningel nicht gesehen durchgehen und ganze Tag zieht es sie zum Fenster. This morning, today, Merrill hadn't seen the rabbi with the little boy going, and the whole day she was drawn towards the window. Die Nähterin kann nicht vergessen dem Frühmorgen beim Rov in Stub, wenn hat sich gebeten bei sein Joseflen, soll gehen lernen, und Josefel hat getuppet mit die Fies, sich gerissen in Gas. The seamstress couldn't forget that morning at the Rov's house, the rabbi's house, when he had begged his little Yosef that he should go and learn, and Yosef had stamped his feet and sich gerissen in Gas and
Tore himself away.
Tore himself away in the street. Die verbitterte Rebbetzin, die verbitterte Rebbetzin hat gehalten mit Ningel, und der Rov hat sich als gekrotscht von weitig. So the bitter Rebbetzin sided with the little boy, and the rabbi the rabbi was squirming in pain. Efscher is das Engel euch heint entlaufen vom in Mark. Perhaps today the little boy had once again run away to the market. Efscher is wieder krank geworden das Eifele. Und der Rov kann nicht optreten von Weib, was hat a Herzfehler. Perhaps the baby had become sick once more, and the rabbi couldn't leave his wife who had a weak heart. Guter übergegebene Freund und Schreinim hat nicht der Rov. So the rabbi didn't have good friends and neighbors. Und von ihr wird nicht annehmen kein Schum Hilfdafke. Der Fahr, was hat ihr der Leutchassene haben. And he wouldn't accept, the wife wouldn't accept any help.
No, I think it's from Miro. The rabbi would not accept any help from Miro.
The wife wouldn't accept.
No, vet
No,
niet om hem en
the rabbi would not accept any help from Muriel, I think.
Okay. Because he had given her permission to marry. Sie muss sich noch mehr hitten für der Rebbetzin, weil ob die Rebbetzin soll sich der wissen, was ihr Mann hat angetan, wird sie ihm machen a Gehenna. She had to be much more careful of the Rebbetzin, because if the Rebbetzin would come to know what her husband had done, she would make his life a misery. Kalman hat gefühlt, als sein Gleichwertel wegen Unhalten sich in der Kapotte von Polotsk-Dayen hat nicht gepasst und hat sich gewollt verentfern. Kalman felt that his witticism about holding on to the kapota of the Polotsker judge was not appropriate, and that he felt that he had to defend himself. Nor eider hat geöffnet das Maul, etwas zu sagen, hat der Sinn wie sein Weib erst a paar Tage nach der Chassene sitzt beim Fenster und von ihren Augen gießen sich Tränen. But before he could open his mouth to say something, he noticed that his wife, of a few days only after the wedding, was sitting at the window, and from her eyes were pouring tears. Okay.
Moshe.
Okay. Rab Levi hates Schweigen. Rabbi Levi says we must keep it quiet. Bei der ersten Kriegerei mit Rab Joschen, dem Ebershammes, hat Salmenke der Untershammes im gelost wissen. With the first fighting with Rabbi Yosha, the Overshammes, Salmenke, the Undershammes, let him know as Mehayom Bahala Lachter von sein Hitler, that from today onwards, he just laughs at him. Geht schon allein auf Passenes. He's doing weddings on his own. Hat gegeben Pupa Bekiddischen an Almen mit einer Agune auf a Hater von Polotsker Dayan. He has done the ceremony, the marriage ceremony for a widower and an Aguna according to permission from the Polotsker Dayan. As Tomer meint Rabbi Yosha as is Hayachsen, and if Rabbi Yosha thinks that Rabbi Yosha is a special guy, much better than him, weil hat auf sein Seite die Gaboim von Stottschul und dem Vad Harabonim, because on his side he has the officials from the Tan Shul and the
Rabbi's Council.
The council, thank you, the council of rabbis. Soll wissen, als Gott schläft nicht. He should know that God doesn't sleep. Und and he, Zalman, but auf sein Seite, dem Polotsker Dayan, he has the Polotsker Dayan on his side, dem Shenem Balabos, Rab Kalman, Matus, noch andere Shenem Balabatim. And on his side, he has the Polotsker Dayan, the householder, the good householder, Kalman Matus, and other shana, nice, respectable householders. Dem Eberschammers ist gleich gekommen auf den Sinnen, das Idol, was hat verlangt, Gruppe Kiddushin, auf a Zettel von Polotska Dayan. Straight away, the Oberschammers thought about the little Jew who wished to have a wedding ceremony according to the mission, a certificate, a slip of paper from the Polotska Dayan. Und wenn hat sich gehessen bringen, I'm not sure,
Rishon is permission. This is Hebrew.
Rishon permission von einem Emerson-Ruf and when he told him to bring a voucher from a real rabbi, this little Jew hat sich aufgetreten und nicht bewiesen. This little Jew left and never came back again, never showed up again. Heißt es auf der Polotska Dayan, that means that the Polotska Dayan was hat einmal matir gewesen, trocken Geld im Shabbos, who once allowed money to be carried on Shabbos, on the Sabbath day, but ist aufgetan noch a größeren Nevela und matir gemacht an Agune. That this rabbi has now done an even greater abominable act and allowed an Aguna to get married.
I think
And
this is Navala.
Sorry?
The word Nevela and Navala are spelled the same way, but this is Navala, a scandal.
Oh, okay. Thank you. I'll just make a note of that. Okay. Is Miller mit den Unterschammers wird allein sich sprachen. He will manage the Unterschammers by himself, that he can do what Rabbi Yosha getracht, Rabbi Yosha thought. Wird dem Asus Ponim uns Liedner Pfleg Reuswaffen von Stadtschule auf zweispendlich. He will throw this cheeky one and pestiferous fly. He'll throw him out of the city shul on two splinters of wood. Just throw him into the garbage, basically. Spendel is a splinter, isn't it?
Azus ponim is another word for chutzpah,
Okay.
Impudent.
to my knowledge. What were you saying?
Impudent.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Spendel-
Aroisvarfen auf Spendlich is an idiom, actually. And it means
okay.
means to discard as worthless. But yeah, literally a Spendel is a small board.
Okay. Nur mit dem Polotska darf lernen, der Eretz Rab Levi Hurwitz, der Mora Hora Fagi in Yanim von Chalitza und Agunas. But with the Polotska, the Rab Levi Hurwitz has to teach him good manners. The teaching rabbi and the deciding rabbi about matters dealing with Levitic marriage and Aguna. Rab Levi Hurwitz hat sich letztens aufgehängt in Kalische Sachen. Rabbi Levi Hurwitz has recently stopped meddling in communal affairs. When he's vieles selten reingekommen in Beistinstibel and even infrequently came into the Beistin house, Stibel, synagogue. Hat heimgebracht von Meshugoim seine Tochter Zirala. He had brought home from the asylum his daughter Zirala. Die Hoffnung auf sein Rebbetzin wird noch gesund werden, hat schon Rabbi Levi aufgegeben. Rabbi Levi had already given up hope that his wife would get well again. Und Spital Farmashkoim hat man sie übergeschickt in einen jüdischen Dorf neben Stettel, Falkening. From the hospital, they had sent her to a Jewish town near the town of Falkening, wo man halt verfallene Marashkorenikers, where one keeps verfallen, given up hope, people with depression, where one's given up hope. Und Rabbi Levi hat jeden Chodesh abgeschickt a tale from, and Rabbi Levi every month sent up a tale from seine Skiras from Yeshuvnik, and every month he sent part of his salary to the Yeshuvnik, the man who lived in the village. Was sort of given after Everton.
Marsha, can you go on?
Sorry?
Yeah, to go on to 69.
Oh, there. Okay.
Yeah,
I'll wait.
Moshe, you have a book, right?
I have a book. Yeah.
I know, I don't. Yeah,
To the Yeshuvnik,
sorry.
who was looking after the sick Rebbetzin. I don't know if people would be interested, but the looking after crazy Jews in a village was a very interesting development. If you want a little aside on that. Between Vilna and Bialystok, the ground was very infertile, so the Russians gave it to the Jews to work, and they couldn't make a living from agriculture because the ground was poor. So they started to take in difficult, mentally ill patients. It was a cottage.
Wow. And those may have been many.
It's
Weil wir reden seinen Meshugoyim.
Sorry?
You know. No, I was joking.
Okay. Anyway, so that was over the talk that Cyril.
Just a sec. Let me point out also, since we're at a slight pause, I'm looking at a map on Google Maps, and on the way between Vilna and Bialystok on the A4 road, it goes through a little town called nowadays Valkininkai, and that's very likely that place, Valkininkai.
Okay.
Wow.
Right. So I thought it was interesting. Over die Tochter Zirala, but the daughter Zirala was what by him Tatten in Stub Gebushevit, who used to rage and rant in the father's house, gebrochen Scheiben, broke windows, und gewollt Reisleifen in the Reisendafka and really wanted to run outside deliberately naked, is letztens in Spital geworden, recently changed in the hospital, still wie a toy, quiet as a dove. Upon him hat gescheint mit wunderten blassen und ausgeleiterten Schmeichel, and her face shone with an astonished, pale, and cleared up, ausgeleitert, changed smile, wie noch a langen in schweren Kollen, like after a long and deep and heavy dream. Die Doktoren haben rausgerufen, dem Taten in ihm gesucht. The doctors called up the father and told him, es kann sein, als seine Tochter soll gesund werden. It's possible that his daughter will get better. Sicher sei seien sie nicht, they're not sure. Hat Rav Levi eingestellt und aufgenommen seine Basichida und Spital. So Rabbi Levi stood by it. He undertook.
Isn't it gambled? He took a chance.
He took a chance. Yeah, I
Yeah.
think that's right.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
took a chance about taking up his only daughter from the hospital. Aber wenn man hat Cyril reingebracht in Stuttgart, when they brought Cyril into the house, hat sich ihr ausgeleitete Schmeichel gleich ausgelöschen. Her cleared up smile disappeared or switched off. Anyway, it was gone. Sie hat mit Schreck herumgeguckt, she looked around at the walls, frightened, das Möbel, the furniture, die Politis vor ihm in ihr Zimmer, the shelves of books and her room. Darauf hat es vermerkt und getracht zitterte. The rabbi noticed this and thought tremulously, as wollte Neshama, was man schickt zurück von Himmel, auf der Syndiker that a homeless soul that you send back from heaven to a sinful muss euch sein, also freilich übergesprochen, wie es euch, wie es jetzt euch sein einzige Tochter, must also look sad, frightened, the way his only daughter is looking at the moment. Gott gehalten hat sie sich still, nur gehalten hat sie sich still, but she kept herself quiet, ruhig, restful. When Rabbi Levi hat sich getraced and Rabbi Levi comforted himself.
Yeah.
As Mastoma darf, as I said, probably it has to be this way. Mastoma darf steuern, bis sie wird sich wieder zugewöhnen zu der Heilung. It probably take time until she will get used to her home. Wenn ein Mensch ist lang gesessen in einer finsteren Klisse, when man befreit him, if a person has been for a long time in a dark captivity and you suddenly release him, bedeutet ist, befindet sich zum Schein von Tod. It also takes a while before we get used to the light of day. Is Rab Levi umgegangen auf die Spitzfinger, so he went around on tiptoe, nicht zu sterben und aufregen. Die Tochter was das ganze Tag gesessen in ihr Zimmer, not to disturb and upset the daughter who was sitting whole days in her room. Anyone else want to take over now?
What were you saying?
Anyone else like to take over now?
Yeah, I didn't read it, so. Reb Levis Schwogers haben gehad a Sachkinder und in jeder Mischproche hat ein Tochter geheißen Zirele, ein Name noch der alte Rebetzen. The in-laws of Reb Levi had a lot of children, and in every family, one daughter was called Zirele. There was a name after the old Rebbetzin. Wenn Zirele Reb Levis ist noch sehr jung gewesen, ist ihr beste Chaverte gewesen Zirele Reb Asher Angeles. So when Rabbi Levi's Zirele still was young, her best friend was Zirele, was Rabbi Asher Enschel's Zirele. Jetzt, wenn die Kranke ist zurückgekommen von Spital und der Tate ihr erzählt, als ihr Schwesterkind Zirele Asher Anschles ist schon eine Mame von 3 Kindern. So now, when the sick Cyril came back from the hospital, her father told her that her niece,
Her cousin.
Sorry,
Cousin.
Schwesterkind is cousin.
Yes. Yeah, this is his brother-in-law. This is Reb Levi's brother-in-law's child.
Okay.
So it's his cousin.
Don't
cousin.
Cousin is a cousine,
Same thing.
Same thing. Okay. Okay. Thank you. So that her cousin, who's Rabbi Asher Anschel's Zirele, is already a mother of 3 children. Is Efsha will sie sein ihr Schwesterkind oder an anderer Molike Chaverte, so perhaps she wants to see her cousin or another friend of the past. Zirele hat eine hübsche Weile angeguckt dem Taten und nicht verstanden, wegen was redt. So Zirele, for a long moment, looked at her father and she didn't understand what he was saying. Mit einmal seien ihre Augen groß geworden von stummen Pachat und sie hat so genommen zittern mit ihr ganzen schmollen Guff, als Reb Levi hat nicht übergerät das zweite Wort und sich herausgeruckt von ihr Zimmer. All at once, her eyes became larger, out of pain.
Fear.
That's what I mean, yeah. Of course, out of fear.
Silent fear.
Silent fear, okay. And she started shaking with her entire narrow body that Rabbi Levi did not utter, did not repeat the words that he was saying, and he went out of her room.
He didn't say another word. He didn't say another word.
He didn't say another word. Okay. Хоч die Kranke hat mehr nicht gebuschewet, oder Tate More, can you, More gehabt, sie überzulassen allein, sie soll es nicht obtun, wenn wird nicht sein in Stuhl. Even though she wasn't gebuschewet. Raging, okay. Even though she wasn't raging, her father was afraid to leave her alone. Sie soll etwas nicht öffnen, wenn wird sein nicht. She shouldn't do something bad when he is not in the house. Is Reb Levi came wohl nicht heraus in Gas. Seiden in Haus ist geblieben die Häufschreine Hyäne, was hat sie bedient. So Rabbi Levi never went out to the street, went outside, except was in the house, there stayed in the house the neighbor, the neighbor from that court, from that yard, Chiene, that used to wait on them, to help them. Und viele, wenn Chiene ist gewesen in Stub, ist Reb Levi gestanden in Besmidrash wie auf heiße Kohlen. And even when Chiene was in the house, Rabbi Levi was standing in the study house like on hot what's the word? Calling.
Coals.
I forget.
As
Coal.
if he was standing on hot coals.
Yeah. Sometimes English runs away from me. Yeah. Beim Davonen ist mehr nicht herumgelaufen, hin und zurück, Leut sein alter Teva. When he was praying, he no longer was running back and forth as it used to be his habit. Hat manchmal sich gewollt abgewöhnen von herumläufen, kedei soll euch in Stub nicht tun dasselbe und überschrecken sein Zirlen. He apparently wanted to I'm losing
Lose
Masha,
the
can
habit.
you go back?
Yeah, abwöhnen, gewöhnen is to habituate. Hat gewollt sich abgewöhnen. He wanted to leave the habit, to stop the habit.
I know.
But I don't know a good English word for that either.
Dishabituate, thank you.
Yeah.
He wanted to dishabituate himself, huh?
Yeah.
To dishabituate himself from running around. In order for him not to do in the house the same thing and to frighten his Zirele. Überschrecken. Wenn man hat abgedauert, ist von Besmidrash Aros der Erste. When they finished davening, praying, he ran out of the study house, the first one. Ständig gewohnt, als bei Reb Levin brennt Feuer bis Vater, seien die Schchenim zugestanden zu Chienen, die Häusidene, sie soll sie sorgen, für was beim Rov brennt nicht mehr kein Feuer in die Nacht und man hört nicht von dort kein Kohl. Since they were always used to the fact that Rabbi Levi's house had in Rabbi Levi's house there was fire till dawn.
I would say candles were burning till dawn.
Candles were burning. Okay. His neighbors questioned Chiene, the housekeeper. She should tell them why it is that in the rabbi's house there's no more candle lighting. There are not more candles burning in the nights, and one doesn't hear any sound from there. Chiene hat lang geplontert mit der Zung, bis sie hat herausgekrächzt, als der Rov hat a Gast, die Tochter von Spital. So Chiene got a little confused with her tongue. She she struggled giving an answer until she finally got out that the rabbi has a guest, that's the daughter from the hospital. Wo sie schweigt ihr, haben die Schchenim sich der Freit und euch sie und genommen herumgehen über den Häuf, über den Häuf auf die Spitzfinger. So the neighbors got happy and they started walking around the yard on their tiptoes. The neighbors, die Schreinen haben mehr nicht gewollt gedenken, sehr langjährigen Kass auf Reb Levin für sein Schreien, als der Häuf ist nicht genug fromm. Die Schreinen didn't want to remember anymore their long time anger at Rabbi Levi for yelling that the yard is not religious enough. It is geworden anders. Now it all became different. Wenn Schochen ist spät bei Nacht gekommen von Gas, ist stehen geblieben auf dem Pussenhäuf und raufgeguckt zum Rebes, zum Rovs ausgeloschene Fenster. Allehei wohl gewusst, als Reb Levi sitzt jetzt in der Finsternis mit ungespitzten Euren, Tomer wird der Herrn Aschor von sein Tochters Zimmer und erwähnt ohne Kohl. Oh boy, okay. When a neighbor would come late at night from the street, he remained standing in the empty yard and looking into or toward the rabbi's dark window, because as if he knew that Rabbi Levi is now sitting in the dark with very attentive ears. Maybe there will be some kind of a sound from his daughter's room, and he is crying without a voice. במחשכים הושיבני כמתי עולם. That's in the dark.
This is Lamentations. This is Echa, Kapitel 3.
Yeah, okay, so it's about the past. Okay, because it could be read as imperative too. Okay, so in the dark, God has set me in the dark, like he like the dead.
Yeah, like people long dead.
Yeah.
The translation in Sefaria, he has made me dwell in darkness like those long dead.
Okay. See, I'm not familiar with the pasuk, and I read it as Hoshivani, as Hoshivani.
It's Hoshivani. It's Hoshivani.
Yeah, I understand. Okay, thank you. Oi, Ribono shel Olam, in der Finsternis sitzt sich wie ein Gestorbener von Langon. Oi, oh, Master of the world, in the darkness I sit like a deceased person, like a long time deceased person.
Right, it's now a quarter till.
What?
Die Zeit ist gekommen.
Oh,
die Zeit ist gegangen.